Hello and welcome to Dead Letter Movie Chat, episode 22,
22.
recorded May 17th, 2015. I'm Tim,
I'm Andrew.
and we're talking tonight about the new movie by Alex Garland, Ex Machina, starring Domhnall Gleeson, Oscar Isaac, and Alicia Vikander.
And that's basically
That's
it.
about it. It's a very, very
Yeah.
small cast, this movie.
Yeah. There were, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Oscar Isaac plays a sort of a mash between like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and Larry Page and Sergey Brin, sort of all those guys sort of thrown into one, and sort of this amalgamation character who
Mhm.
has developed, he believes, an artificial intelligence and brings in our hapless protagonist Domhnall Gleeson to administer essentially the Turing test for artificial intelligence to determine if he succeeded. And the movie is about these characters interacting. This robot played by Alicia Vikander, and they're trying to figure out, okay, is she intelligent? What does she want? What's she trying to do?
Would she
What's this
pass
guy
for
trying to get out of
human?
it?
Yeah.
What is this guy going to do to test? So
It's,
it's very cat and mouse. It has
mhm.
has shades of old film noir, with a lot more budget though.
Yeah. Or at least it looks better. Yeah.
It certainly did. I mean, the effects never took me out of the movie. It was very, very convincing.
Yeah. I thought it was, the film, like the synopsis of the film basically reads sort of like, maybe not a, like kind of something in between an Asimov and Philip K. Dick short story.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm not neither. This movie doesn't really have a feeling of anything like that. But when you basically explain the plot, it sounds like something I would have read in a science fiction class. I don't know, maybe a dash of Harlan Ellison in there as well. But I don't know, the ideas of the film are quite interesting. It is. This is, however, the third sentient robot movie that Tim and I have watched this year. Now, mind you, the other ones are very different. Chappie was quite the different film. Age of Ultron is also a very different film. But they all are kind of like dealing with this idea of a robot that suddenly is able to think for itself, and the things that come out of that. And that's, interesting. The downside of this is that it's an idea that I have already thought about a lot already this year, and
Yeah.
yeah. So if anything, that really is a problem for the movie is that like I had already kind of thought all that I could think about with this, and this doesn't really present any new ground per se in that concept. Regardless, though, it's still interesting. The film is still, you're emotionally invested with all four characters. You like want to know what's going on. You get like you're really enticed to it. I'm not going to say edge of the seat, but you want to know what's happening.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're never like. I was never bored. It's a very slow moving kind of movie in comparison to the other two sentient robot movies we watched this year.
That is
But
certainly true.
but but I think it works better. The film is more or less a thriller, a science fiction thriller to an extent, has a very claustrophobic feeling, and I think that's what was needed for this. It does feel like a lot of other science fiction robot films I have seen over the years, but not so much in the way that it looks, but just in the general ideas that are being discussed.
Yeah, I agree. The ideas here aren't really new. Most of this has been done before, but to this film's credit, they presented it all very intelligently.
Yeah.
It was clear that they thought things through before it got onto the page and subsequently onto the screen. There were some interesting ideas that were a little bit new in terms of the Turing test isn't really that complete a test for artificial
Mhm.
intelligence, and that's something that's been known in computer science for a while. But
Yeah.
that's not really part of pop culture as much yet.
No.
So there were some neat twists there, and I like that it was such a small cast, and because of that, if any one person had not been able to pull their weight as an actor, the whole film would have fallen apart. But it
Exactly.
really hangs together very well. Like you said, I didn't feel bored at any point. I felt very engaged. At any given time in the movie, I wanted to know what was going to happen next.
Hmm. I had kind of felt during this is like I don't want to make it sound like the film is stagey at all because it isn't stagey, but a part of me had wondered what this would have been like as a stage play, because the fact
Yeah.
everything is so claustrophobic. Because like I think it could have worked. It
Actually,
would
you
work rather
mentioned that.
well.
I could have
Um,
seen this being a stage production as well, and it would have been very, very, artsy.
hmm But it would
Not
have been
not yeah,
interesting.
but yeah,
It would have been really cool. The film itself is also pretty cool. The special effects look really good, like Tim already said. They don't ever take you out of the movie, which is you can definitely tell that they didn't get to spend a lot of money on extra people or more locations. So I'm glad that they funneled it all into good looking special effects because if they had been bad, I mean, like the fact that we're talking about the ideas expressed in the film and not at how bad the effects are is a good thing.
yeah,
Um,
and I feel that that was probably intentional because
yeah.
this movie is about its ideas. It's not about a big cast or lots of spectacle,
Hmm.
and there's a little bit of that here, but it's not really the focus.
Exactly. Everyone gives a great performance. The film is shot well, production is done well. The script is pretty good too. One of my big problems I've always had with Blade Runner is that I think the script sucks.
Yeah,
Looks cool. For the most part, people do pretty good performances in the movie, but the script is not good. But the script
yeah.
here is actually pretty good. I mean, like, although it has, it's all been stuff we know what's happened, we've seen before, and for the most part, I knew what was going to happen plot wise in this movie, but that didn't make the movie worse
Yeah,
necessarily.
there were not a whole lot of real surprises here, but I still felt engaged, and it was tight. The characters were all very, very interesting and well drawn, yeah, fleshed out, so to
Yeah.
speak.
I felt like, I mean, when I walked out of the movie, I mean, it was disappointed isn't the right word. I kind of wanted to be surprised, and I really didn't get that. So for me, that may have like hurt it a little bit, but not like, this film is awful. It's not like that. The thing I really like about the movie is that this is probably the best extrapolation of Frankenstein in a science fiction form. I mean, like the modern Prometheus is alive and well in this film, and I don't know if people would think of that automatically if you haven't seen so many bad horror films like I have. But I don't know. I really liked that it definitely had that feeling. It definitely had that that Mary Shelley like what are we doing kind of dread that I really
Yeah,
liked.
yeah, it really
Um,
did.
and so I think that definitely added to the film which may have also been why I wasn't that surprised because like,
Yeah,
I'd seen this before, but that really, I felt like that really added to it for me. So I guess, I would say ultimately the film is a pretty solid B. Um,
yeah,
it's just, I mean, like, I wanted to be surprised at it, but I really like, there are ideas I've heard before. It's, a plot that I could figure out, but they still do a really good job with those things, and I think that that's pretty good for a genre movie that is like a little movie at that. I don't really know if you're into science fiction, like the horror guy in me who told you to go see It Follows, whether or not you actually watch the movie, because we need to have more horror films like that. If you're a science fiction person, this is probably that kind of movie. You need to buy the ticket, not necessarily take the ride, but I mean, like, there's
yeah.
more.
But
Yeah,
show that there is interest out there for this kind of
yeah.
thing.
We need more movies like this than we need Chappie. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, there were some very good ideas here that were intelligently presented, good performances, but I mean, ultimately, I also like you wanted to be surprised, and yeah, I wasn't very much. So this was a good B. I liked it. I didn't really love it.
mhm.
If you want something else like this, go see Moon by Duncan Jones.
Yeah, I
So
would say, yeah, that's definitely
yeah,
a better film.
this is kind of in that same vein.
Yeah, they definitely have I don't know, shared feelings, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
I would say, to put it in a lexicon that most people would understand, this is the kind of film that you just find on Netflix one day and watch and find yourself being like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, which Moon kind of is like too, but yeah, it's slightly better. But yeah, good film. I didn't feel like I wasted my time at all. I'm glad I saw it. I wish there were more science fiction